Hello everyone. I feel like I was longer than 5 minutes, but gives people time to get on. Okay, so I am back. It is Saturday, and after the train wreck that was my live last night, I am focused. I have a project, and we are going to create. So this is the Forever Blossoms stamp set. It is now available in the new mini catalog. I won this at On Stage when I was in Vegas, and I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of probably like, but I am loving the stamp set. This image, and of course the images that go with it. So again, these are distinctive stamps, so they give you sort of some shading without needing to use different colors. I've yet to stamp it in color. I've only stamped it in basic gray. But they also make it so easy to use your blends because it kind of lets you know where you should be using a darker color. So beautiful. It's got lovely font. It's very nice it's going to make some fabulous wedding cards for sure, or anniversary cards, Valentine's, and even just really nice card for a really great friend. Okay. So this was a card that I made earlier today. And this is what we're using for our inspiration. So what I did for this card, I stamped the image in basic gray, and then I used my Stampin Blends to color it in, and we're going to do some of that coloring now. I stamped a sentiment in Pretty Peacock, and then I ran this one layer through the embossing, through the Big Shot with the linen embossing folder, okay? I added a few of the, I'm actually not sure what they're called, the in color faceted dots to the flower centers, just to give it a little bit something. And I'm thinking now what would actually be really nice is a little bit of Wink of Stella. So we will do some Wink of Stella on the card we are going to do now. So I appreciate this wouldn't be considered, this would be like a second level card. Simple, no stepping it up would have been just to stamp this image on a single sheet of cardstock, and that would have been your card front. We wouldn't have had the second layer, and we wouldn't have done the embossing, but I already did this. So this is technically like a stepped up card, and now we're going to step this up even more for what we would call our avid crafter. So I've done a little bit of the work ahead of time so that you didn't have to watch me do all the coloring. So you can see I've already stamped our image, and I have already done a bit of the work with the blends. So I am going to sit down. You can still see. Okay. So what I did is, like I said, I stamped this in basic gray, and I like to use basic gray because it's a little bit softer than stamping it in Memento, and you can still color with your blends. Then I took the light, which is this one, the light Pretty Peacock blend, and that's what I used in the middle of these cards. So I'm going to show you these cards, these flowers. So I'm going to show you on this one. So I took the peacock and I used it everywhere there was a bit of dark. Okay, so that's what I did. And then I wanted to use Seaside Spray. So I took the dark Seaside Spray, and that just went around the middle where the flower would naturally be a bit darker. And then it also went everywhere there was some dark shading in our flower. So that's the beauty of these images. You don't have to kind of figure out or have a really good eye for where the light would catch it, where it would be shadowed, and where it would be dark and light. I am not super awesome at that. There are some demos that are really great. We have a woman on our team, Jacqueline, who is an artist. And so she is super awesome at knowing where light would hit things. I am less good about that. I try to look when I'm outside in nature and see if I can. Okay, so that's what we did with the darker color. I can see we have a couple people watching now, so thank you. And then all I did was take my light Seaside Spray and color it in. I wanted to leave a little bit of white too. I've been seeing that in some images where there's some white left on the tips, and I really like that effect. So you can see in the card that I've already made, there's a bit of white. The other thing you could do is totally color the entire flower in, and then you could use your color lifter, and that would help to give us that effect. So now I'm going to take our light Seaside Spray, and I'm just going to color this in. Then you'll see that it will blend and we will get that nice image. So the reason we're doing these 3 extra flowers is we are going to cut these out with the dies, and that's how we're going to step this card up a little bit. Okay, so there are those 3. All right. So if we go back to this card and if we go back to our original, you can see we also have to color in the leaves, and we have these smaller flowers to color in as well. So for the leaves, what I was using was some soft seafoam. It's sort of the nicest blend shade of green that I have that I wanted to use. So again, I started with the dark. So I've already done these top leaves. I took the dark and I just shaded in everywhere where the leaves are darker. Same with the stems, everywhere where I felt like the stem was darker. And then we'll do the same over here. So if you don't have the blends, you could still do this with Stampin' Right markers. You could also stamp this whole image in a color, and then you would already have some color to your blossoms. So now I'm just using the light soft seafoam to go over that. Okay, and so there we're bringing our main image to light. So now we're going to tackle these big flowers, or not big flowers, but this different image. So what I'm going to show you is when I did my original version, I did use the dark peacock and then the light peacock. But then I really had to use my color lifter quite a lot because I didn't like how much bolder this color was than this sort of soft palette I'd created. So what I'm actually going to do instead now on this version, we're only going to use the light. Hey, Kathy. And we're going to use the color lifter. So we can try a couple of things. So we're going to try a couple of things. So actually up in these smaller ones, I'm just going to color with the color lifter to start where I know I want it to be lighter, and I'm going to see what that does for us. And then down here, we'll do it the opposite, and we'll see which one we like better. So I know I want it to be this bolder color here. So I'm going to do that first. And then let's see what happens where I've already done the color lifter. I'm not sure if that will actually have an effect or not. I just wanted to try it and see. So maybe a little. Okay, so same thing down here. We're going to color in the dark. And then we're going to do the light. So I am going to use this other one as a bit of a template, and I'm going to now use my color lifter. So the thing about your color lifter is you just want to make sure you always kind of clean it off, similar to how you would an aqua painter or a blender pen, to make sure there's none of the pigment left from the last color we used. So I'm just going to put that to the side, and I'm going to bring this one in. Okay, so I want to lift the color in this main part of the flower. So you can see it lifting it, and I'm actually going to lift it a little bit in the darker bit too, just not nearly as much, and we can always add some back in the darker bit. But I do find there are a couple of blends that even the light version is really very rich in pigment, and if you're trying to make a card with softer colors, then it just tends to be a little bit too much. So that's looking pretty good. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. So we're going to leave that. Okay, so that now we're looking fairly similar to this one. But now we're going to step it up a little bit. So we've done these flowers, which we are now going to cut out with our Big Shot die. The other thing that I had already done, only because I thought I was going to use it on this first card, is I've already stamped a sentiment. So what I did is I just inked up part of this one stamp in the Pretty Peacock. Oh, it's still on my block. So it's this stamp here, cherish every moment of this day. So you can do it with your marker, but there's actually enough of a space between the cherish every moment that I was able to just use my ink pad, and then I could just wipe off the extra, and then I just stamp that. And this is just a 1/2 inch scrap that I have. I keep all of my scraps of white and all of my scraps of Very Vanilla, just for reasons like this. And then I just cut the ends at an angle. And then all I did was get a piece of Seaside spray, and I basically tried to get the exact same angle, and I did the same. So now we're going to put this across this card, and that's just giving us a bit more dimension. We're going to, our way of sort of stepping it up. Okay, we're still going to run this through the embossing folder, and now we're going to have some more dimension by adding these flowers. And we're going to add some Wink of Stella to this card because I think that that is going to look really pretty. So I'm just going to show you the dies. There are a lot of dies with this bundle. So you can see we have the dies that are going to cut out our shapes, and then you can also see we have dies that are also going to cut and emboss. So I haven't used these yet, and you can see we have 2s of everything, which is nice because then you can just cut more things and make more at once. But I'm going to show you what those other ones look like. So there's some really pretty examples. So you can see here how they've used those to make like an entire cherry blossom branch. So here's a good example, this one here, of that other shape. And you can see how it sort of adds some texture there on its own. And you can see how pretty, so here they've actually colored the stem in brown, which is lovely, and they've left a bit of white. They've left more white again. Here's an example where they've stamped the images in petal pink. And here it looks like they stamped that in petal pink too, and then they just added a bit of depth with the blends. So totally options there. Okay, so let's get out. We're going to use this die for that flower, and that is the only one we are going to use at the moment, and we're going to use the embossing folder. So let's just move our pieces to the side. We will bring in the Big Shot. We're going to use the magnetic plate because we've already stamped, but we're going to emboss first because I have that plate on from when I did my original card. So we have these lovely folders now with the black line. Yes, Kathy, this is in the new catalog. It's called Forever Blossoms. And it is, because we can look in the back of the catalog with the awesome index. It is on page 16. Now, I don't know, has yours arrived yet in the mail? If not, I can send you the link so you can look online. Okay, so we've got these folders. They have the black line. The black line allows us to ensure our card goes in straight. So you can see, we know that we put this in straight. So with these thick folders, I think everybody already knows this, they always go seam in so that the air gets pressed out as you roll it through, and you only need one plate because they are the thicker ones. All right, so roll that through. Because we're not stamping the sentiment on here, we could roll it through already. What you do need to know is when you're doing something like this, you want to make sure you do all your stamping before you roll it through the embossing folder. Otherwise, if we were to try to stamp the sentiment after, that's why I had to decide what I was going to do, you will then lose some of your ink in the crevices of the embossing, and you won't have a really crisp sentiment, and I would think you will likely be disappointed and you will be sad that you did all that coloring and then it seems like it was for no good reason. So now we're going to pull out the magnetic plate and we're going to do these guys, I'm going to use my flatter of the plates. The good news for anyone who does have a die cutting machine, Stampin' Up! Does have plates back in available. Okay, so there we go. That's lined up. Because for a while they were out. They took them off because they stopped working with, Sizzix. So then it was and they sold out. But now they are back. Okay, we're going to cut out all 3 just in case we want to use them. I'd rather have them than not. The only thing about the magnetic plate is you can see when you use smaller images, the die sometimes will jump. You have to find the sweet spot, or you can use washi tape to hold it down. So that's another option. If you don't have the magnetic plate, once you line your die up, you can use a piece of washi tape so that it won't move. And again, you won't cut your image once you go through. Did you get either of your catalogs, Kathy? Did you get the Celebration one? That's such a bummer. My customer in Calgary has got both of hers now, but I presume they were mailed from Calgary, so I assume that is why. I'm hoping, and I feel like Cam maybe got her Celebration, but she didn't get her mini. I'm not too sure. But thankfully, at least it's online now, so you can take a look online. And if it doesn't come soon, then we can mail you out another one. But I think they should start arriving. Okay, so let's bring everything back into focus here. So here's our current card front. Here is our original card. I'm going to put this die away. And I haven't done this yet with these dies, but this is another one of my tricks for any of you who are kind of like, where did it go? How do they get them back on here? Is you just take a pen, or I do at least. Let's find one. And then you can just sort of trace around your dies. Obviously not where the tape is, and then you know where to put your dies back, because sometimes you're like, as if I'm ever figuring out how these go back in here. So this is a really good method to know where your dies go back. Okay, so clearly I have some work to do on that one. All right, so here is one. Where's our other flowers? 2. Okay, hopefully we only want 2 because currently we are missing flower number 3. Murphy's Law. Okay, let's carry on. So the other thing I have, and my mom helped me with this, which was awesome, is I have a pre-cut stack of card bases. So if you like to work with thick Whisper White, or even if you don't, even if you just like to use normal Whisper White and normal Very Vanilla, I basically, because I only use thick for cardstock bases, I can pretty much cut that entire pack of paper in half and score it, and then that way I always have card bases at the ready. So this will go on our card base like that. And I think to, again, add a little bit of a difference from the first one, there it is. We will step this up with some dimensionals. So this is a great time, and I've kind of got like a whole bag full of partially used dimensionals. So this is going to be a perfect pack for this. These edges are awesome when you want to step up like a big part of your card, because then I take them and put them sort of like this across the corner, and you just rip them, or you can use scissors. I don't use scissors. And then you're using this up for a big thing, so it's great. I'm going to put this big piece somewhere else. So this is how I do this. It was so great. I had a class, I think it was a class I did in Chilliwack maybe, and there was some seasoned pros there, so they were using the edges of my dimensionals, which was awesome. I mean, if they don't, I just bring them home and I use them, but I thought it was super cool that they were doing it. Okay, so that is going to be up off our page now, so that's going to be lovely. And then we're going to take our sentiment, and I kind of wanted it like that. So we're going to get out our silicone here, and I am going to put some snail on the bottom half of this. The reason we use the silicone sheet is then you don't get snail on your project or your scrap piece of paper you're working on. I'm going to layer that. Okay. Like that. And then we're gonna figure out where that's gonna go. We have to be sure that this isn't gonna come off our card front, so you can see there. We have to kind of be a bit creative. Now, we could put it down here, and then we won't cover up any of our image. So this is where I'd actually be happy to have your votes. I know there's a few of you watching. So, would you put the sentiment down at the bottom? Would you put it in the middle, even though it's going to cover up one of our flowers? I don't really think I like it up top. We could put it a little higher so you still see the stem. The reason I thought it would be okay to keep it in the middle is because we have these other flowers. So I thought we could always add some of these in, and then it won't matter that some of the other ones are covered. So what do you guys think? We would pop those up with dimensionals. This guy would get popped up, and then all of those would be popped up as well, like that. Anyone? Anyone? Or we can put this down here, and then I would likely just add, I guess I would still probably put one extra one down here. I would maybe do something like that, and then sort of something like that. So which, oh, I got a couple votes. I have one, oh, I have one for the bottom and two for the middle. I don't mind that, but let's put this on for starters, and then we'll go from there. I have to say the middle wins though. Majority rules. We can always do another version of this card with it down on the bottom. You could also change where you stamp this. I could have stamped it closer to the top. That was weird. My phone never rings. Okay, so if we're gonna put this in the middle, I still wanna have it on dimensionals. So put a couple dimensionals on there like that. So it would go there. And then I think I would put that guy there. Let's just see what we like. I would put that guy there on a dimensional. And then I kind of like the idea of that guy sort of right there. And then I feel like we need to have three. So I think I would pop this guy up here. And honestly, I don't know how you guys are. This is sort of how I brainstorm. I generally don't stick anything down until I'm pretty confident I like what's going on. So I'm liking that. And then I do the adhesive. And that way I have, and I'll take pictures. So then I can be like, okay, do I like A better or do I like B better? And then I can switch it around. I know other people who do not do that. And then when they're not happy with their card, they're kind of stuck because they've already stuck it all together. Okay, so if we do that, and then we're gonna need another dimensional there. So we're gonna use a mini because I've got them handy. Comme ça. All right. So it's gotta go like that. And I liked it up there. Okay, so I'm gonna stick this down. Oh, you know what, I'm gonna stick this one down first. because this is kind of overlapping it. And then we are going to stick the other one down, and then I think we're going to add some Wink of Stella, and we can also still add in some of those embellishments. So I want this kind of right at the edge. Like that. Whew, this is pretty. I like it. All right, so there we go. Now we're going to take our Wink of Stella and we are going to add a bit of glitter here. Even your Wink of Stella, I can see now mine, I had used it on something purple, and it will carry some of that ink. And if we want, we could add a little bit down in here. I'm gonna just do this for now and then see what we like. Hey Jacqueline, I actually referenced you in this video if you go back to the beginning. I was talking about how well you know how to shade things. All right, so we're gonna pull out our dots again. So I think in this one, in my original, let's bring out the original, I used equal amounts of the Seaside Spray and the Peacock. But I think in this one, I'm going to just use the Pretty Peacock. So now I need a third. I guess I could use a bigger one. I feel like I won't like that, but let's see what that looks like. Oh, you know what? Maybe that's okay. All right. So voila, there we have it. So I don't know what you guys think. So we have card A that I made this morning. And then we have the same card, just stepped up a little bit. So I hope you like it. Thank you for your creative assistance in helping me decide where to put the sentiment. Thank you for watching. So of course, if you're interested in these products, they are live now. I have my January host code on the page. If you want to place an online order, be sure to use the host code so that you can get some extra goodies. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Thanks, everyone.